Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
And this is my point about I've always said that Brexit has kind of broken our traditional institutions. It's broken how Parliament functions. It's broken both main parties.
Yes.
That guy's singing about Jeremy Corbyn. Labour doesn't have a plan.
Nope.
The government was defeated last week with a contempt motion. What's the consequence of that? Nothing. Jeremy Corbyn tomorrow is putting forward another objection to what Theresa May's done to condemn the fact that she's cancelled this motion. What's the result of that going to be? Nothing. So not only is the government in disrepute, Parliament is in disrepute. You have a Labour guy grabbing the mace and waving it around. What does that do? Nothing. And these guys in that building over there haven't got a plan to answer the crazy shriekings of that man out there, or indeed everybody else.
Well, let's take a look at the Guardian, shall we? Desperate May reveals her plan B to buy more time, wants to go and kicking the can down the road, as people say. But you raised the point of Labour still having their cake and eating it. She asked politicians in there to be honest about why they're backing, they're trying to vote against this withdrawal deal, because Labour still hasn't got a policy that they can coalesce around. The Brexiteers, despite fighting for this for decades, don't have a coherent plan.
Well,
and also, the people who are fighting for a so-called people's vote, a second referendum, don't know what the question is. So who is being honest here with an alternative?
Well, I think Brexiteers are being fairly honest in saying they're quite happy to walk away with no deal. You know, the bottom line is...
Yeah, but no deal means what,
we keep on
specifically,
talking,
what does no deal mean?
We keep on talking about this deal. You know, the EU were never obligated to give us a deal. We voted to leave, and no deal was necessarily supposed to come with it. So we've got to stop pretending that a deal... You know, we didn't vote leave to renegotiate.
It's going to be the easiest deal in human history.
No, but we didn't leave to renegotiate our terms with the EU. We voted to leave and get away from the EU. So, you know, it is not upon them to give us the deal. But I think her
the people who are voting this down now,
yes,
now have to come up surely with an alternative, or they are letting down the electorate.
Or we have to call the bluff of the EU, and we have to say to Brussels, right, well, you know, if you don't remove the backstop, nothing's going to happen.
Shall we show the star at this point? Down the bottom, in the left corner, Brexit, it's still boring on.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
He's not bored.
Well, I think that's right, and there'll be a large group of people who are disengaged about that. But it's not in Labour's interest to have a policy. It's not in half these people's interest to have a policy, because it's easier to throw stones than it is to build walls. And Corbyn can say to some significance, with some credibility, and say, that's not right. He doesn't have to put anything forward, because he's got to balance two constituencies. A bunch of people who want a second vote so we can remain, and a bunch of people who want us to get on with Brexit. He has to balance those constituencies. That's an impossibility. Everything boils down to the fact the country is split 50-50 or 45-55, and there's no political impetus for anyone to fix that mess.
But I think the feeling is that if she remains in position, nothing is going to progress. And I think that is the problem now. People want her gone. Yeah. And even if it means giving someone who we don't necessarily want as PM a chance, I think that's what it means.
So what about the sorry, apologies, Stig. What about the Telegraph? You know, once again invoking the spirit of Thatcher. The idea at the weekend about handbagging. Here it is in a dismissive way. The lady is for turning. She, of course, said this lady is not for turning. But
I mean, I was just going to say, how can we believe anything she said? Because 2 weeks ago, she said absolutely clearly there was going to be no changes. This was the deal, and that was the end of it. And now she's saying, well, actually, there might be concessions. But even as lots of MPs have said tonight, no matter what concessions she gets to this withdrawal deal, it'll never be enough.
Honestly, it stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? What about the photograph there as well? That, you know, if anybody cast their mind back
to Thatcher,
to Margaret Thatcher leaving Downing with a tear in her eye.
Exactly. Well, but she's not doing that. At least Margaret Thatcher went. This one is not going to go.
I mean, it seems to me that the turning isn't the problem with Theresa May. You cannot doubt her ridiculous, to the point of absurd tenacity. I mean, if you just look at the last week...
tenacity, it's stupidity, Stig. Her hanging on like this is stupid.
Well, it's somewhere between the two. She stands up in Parliament and is humiliated. She's humiliated by her colleagues. She's humiliated by the opposition. She's humiliated when she travels around the country with people not buying her deal. And she might well say, I voted Remain. I don't believe in any of this. This is the deal that she's produced. No one is buying it. At some point, you've got to imagine she's just going to say, well, I've done my best. It may be an impossible task, and I believe it is an impossible task. I believe that this is why, when it comes to prime ministers I want to blame, there is a guy sitting in a shed somewhere in North Oxfordshire who is far more culpable of this. I know you doorstopped him and said he wouldn't change his mind if he had another go at this referendum. He catastrophically, stratospherically cocked this up by chucking us into a referendum with no plan, with no threshold for a significant change like this, just to fix a problem for his own benefit. That's where this comes right back to. Theresa May's tried to square a circle and failed. No one else is offering a better solution, and it goes right back to
she's made this country look very silly and very subversive. She's now no, we haven't made it. We were asked to vote, Stick, and we made the vote. We made a call. It's the parliamentarians that have cocked up the negotiations, not the people who voted Leave. It's not their job to fix that. It's
some of the people who I agree with that about the voters of Leave. I think it was some of the job of the people who led the Leave campaign to produce something that was credible.
Let's just look at this. Yeah, you're all paper the Sun. Let's just see how they're doing this. Some MPs suggesting today they should be sitting throughout the Christmas break. Instead, they are rising as anticipated. The Brexit Turkey, they say, crisis to last weeks after May pulls her vote, and her plan is blasted amid new calls to quit. The PM is well and truly staffed. Well, question mark. I suppose you could put there.
I think they've got till January the 21st to make this vote, so they're not going to do it on Christmas Day. She's going to spin for as much time as possible. But as we were saying before, what difference does time make? Unless she gets substantive changes to the agreement, I'm going to offer him one of my throat lozenges in a second.
I thought I'm going to offer him out, Carol. I'm going to offer him out.
That as well, actually. But he's going to need it.
The question is, though, the spirit of compromise is not there yet. As the clock ticks down, and some people are accusing her of doing that right now, as the clock ticks down, will that focus the minds of people who don't want no deal and actually begin to get more support?
No, and the reason I feel this doesn't work is because whenever you look at the parliamentary arithmetic, what is in it ever for a bunch of Labour MPs to support Theresa May? Because her deal is never going to be good enough to actually get us to a positive future. They're never going to turn around to their constituents and say, I had to vote for that because it's all right. So there's never ever going to be a moment where 50, 60 Labour MPs cross the floor effectively and say, we're going to prop up this government in order to get this through. That is not going to ever happen. So we're going to be stuck in this parliamentary purgatory forever. And I'm not sure even that will fix it.
Well, oh, goodness me. We'll have a lighter note after the break, shall we?